Hi everyone, welcome to lesson 5 of Scratch animation programming. Hopefully you've got your worksheet or a jotter or notebook close by, because the starter and the plenary for this one are slightly bigger than those you've done before, so please try to answer it as you go along with the PowerPoint. Okay, now what you can see is the questions today for your starter are based around a classic game of Pac-Man, which hopefully you've all played before. Okay, we have to remember that in Scratch, the center point, the 0, 0 coordinate, is right in the middle, and then we've got our x-axis, in this case 100 pixels wide, so it goes from plus 50 to minus 50 on the x-axis, and the same for the y-axis, so we go up to positive 50 and then down to minus 50. Okay, and your first task is to guess the coordinates of Pinky the Ghost, which is this guy here if you're not sure. Okay, so guess the coordinates of Pinky the Ghost on the screen. The second question is to guess the coordinates of Pac-Man. Now, if you're not sure where Pac-Man is, it's a little bit difficult to notice him because he doesn't have his mouth open because the game's not started yet, but this is him here, the slightly larger circle. So think about what position you think he might be in on the screen. Question 3, what is it called when we set up Pac-Man's position at the start of each level? Okay, so that's something that we looked at and focused on last week when we were setting up different sprites. There's a special word that begins with the letter I, so if you can't remember it, go back and look at your notes from last week and see if you can remember. Number 4, what else might we set up for Pac-Man at the start of the game? So other than the position, there's lots of other things that we can set up. What else do you think this might be? And lastly, question 5, what type of trigger do you think is used to start this game? Okay, so remember the options of triggers were things like when the green flag is clicked, when a sprite is clicked, when a specific key is pressed, when a broadcast is made, etc, etc. Okay, pause if you need more time, and then when you're ready, move on to the rest of the video. Okay, today's focus is we're going to be looking at broadcasting. Okay, and broadcasting is a specific type of trigger that we mentioned briefly last week. Okay, today you will be successful if you know the advantages of what using a broadcast is, if you can understand the two different types of broadcast that Scratch has and how they're different, and then if you could identify which type of broadcast is best to use in specific different situations. Okay, so those are the three things we're going to be focusing on today. Now basically what a broadcast is when you send a message out to all of the sprites, and any of them that has a trigger that matches your broadcast, which I'll show you in a wee second, it will make them do something. Okay, so in this example we've got when the green flag is clicked, a broadcast message called speak is sent out. Now it's very important that this is spelled correctly and picked up correctly through all the sprites, okay? And then it says stop script. So when the green flag is pressed, it broadcasts speak. Now speak is picked up by two characters in this short animation, the cat and the duck, okay? And you can see they both have this trigger, that trigger shape, okay, when I receive speak. Now if any of these were spelled incorrectly, then it wouldn't pick it up, okay? So Scratch can't guess, it has to be absolutely perfect. All right, so when they receive speak, they both do slightly different things. The cat makes a meow noise and the duck makes a quack noise, and these happen at the exact same time. Okay, now the reason why broadcasting is often used rather than just both of them bits of them sprites having a when green flag is clicked is you can get your timing perfect. Okay, so you might not want this to happen right at the beginning of the program. In turn, you might not be sure. You maybe want them to both do it when the game ends or when a score is equal to 10 or something. Okay, so the good thing about a broadcast is you can get a number of different people to do something at the exact same time. Okay, if you think back to when we did our knock knock joke and when some of you started extending them or changing them into your own knock knock joke, once the timing goes out a little bit, or you have a little bit more of a complex animation, or maybe you've got 3 different characters or 3 different sprites instead of 2, your code can get quite complex quite quick, and the timing can be difficult to get right. If you use broadcasts, it stops this from happening. So that's the main advantage of using broadcasts. Okay, so these two things happen at the exact same time. So if you played this, they would go, the cat would go meow, the duck would go quack. That would happen at the exact same time. So it sounded a little bit weird, and then the program would end. Okay, let's look at a slightly longer animation using broadcast. Now we're going to look at a regular broadcast first. I'm going to show you how that works with the actual program, and then we'll see why in this instance a regular broadcast isn't actually the best thing to use. Okay, So when I start the program, I press the green flag and this piece of code is triggered only. Okay, so this trigger, when the green flag is clicked, starts. These two don't, okay, because they don't have the when green flag clicked. This code is connected to the stage, I should say. This part of code up here is connected to Farmer Joe, who we've got in the corner here, and then this one is connected to wee Hetty the cow that we've got down here. Okay, so first thing that happens is it switches the backdrop to a lake. So the stage changes from a white background to a beautiful lakeside with green grass and trees and whatever. Okay. It then moves on to broadcasting a message as farmer arrives. Okay, notice the capital F, capital A, the space in between, very particular. That broadcast is picked up by both Farmer Joe and Hetty the cow. Okay, then all three of these bits of code continue to run. So the background changes to the end background, which is just a plain screen with the words end on it. Farmer Joe appears on the screen and Hetty the cow appears on the screen. Farmer Joe starts in his starting position and then Hetty the cow starts to make a moo noise. Okay, then what happens is Farmer Joe starts to glide towards Hetty to chase her, and then Hetty hides and disappears off the screen. Okay, when Joe gets to Hetty's position, he also hides away to find her, and then Hetty the cow's script stops. Farmer Joe's script stops, and then the whole animation is finished. Now you might say, well, that's not quite right, because Farmer Joe was chasing Hetty around the screen, but it was all happening when the backdrop was still set to end, because this broadcast moved on immediately to its next instruction and kept running through. What we want to happen is we want to stay at the lakeside while these things are happening, okay, and then move on to the end screen when the whole animation finished. Now we can change that by using a different type of broadcast block. Instead, what we can use is a broadcast and wait. Now I want you to look closely at this piece of code when I move to the next screen and see if you can see the difference, okay? Okay, so go back, forward. This part's the bit that's different. Sorry. This part's the part that's different. Okay, see that and wait has been added to the end of this block. All right. So this time, when the green flag is clicked, what happens is it still switches to the background lake and it still broadcasts the message farmer arrived. But what the and wait part does is it says that if anybody or any sprites pick up this farmer arrives message, it has to wait until all of those get down to a stop script before this can then continue. So the same animation as before happens. When Farmer arrives is received by Joe and Hetty. They both appear on the screen. Joe goes to his position. Hetty makes a moo sound. Joe starts to run towards Hetty while she hides off the screen. Joe hides off the screen while Hetty's code is finishing up. Joe's code then finishes up, and only at that point does it return back over to the broadcast farmer arrives, which is now finished waiting because everything's done. It switches to its backdrop end, and then we stop the script. And what happens is that broadcast has not continued on until all of the other animations connected to that broadcast have completed. So it doesn't move on to the next instruction. Okay, so there's two different types of broadcast you can use. A regular broadcast, where it just sends the message and continues, or a broadcast and wait, which sends the message and waits for something to happen. Now, depending on what different type of thing you're doing, sometimes it's important to use each. If you're using a game and you were just broadcasting person hit or something like that, or connection made or key collected or something like that, you probably just broadcast it, the score goes up or whatever needs to happen happens, or maybe it goes to a next level, and then you just continue with the game. Okay, that would be a regular broadcast, no problem whatsoever. However, if you're using broadcast and wait, that's more useful for things like animation. So maybe you broadcast scene 1 and then all of the characters do what they're doing for scene 1, and then when it's finished you move on to scene 2, and so on and so forth. So it makes complex animations a lot easier, and the advantage of using the broadcast is it works really well and it's great for timings. Okay, right, what I want to do quickly before we go on to the plenary is I want to show you this. So this is what you're going to be doing today. It's quite a complex program. Okay, it's called Dress Up Harper. And you can see everything has its own starting position. So when I press play, they all go to these specific positions. And what happens is basically you can dress up Harper. So if it was a nice sunny day, You might put her no shoes, sunglasses, t-shirt, trousers, looking really casual. If I press the restart button, they all go back. And maybe if it's a colder day, I'd put some trousers, shoes, t-shirt, scarf, and a hat. Okay, and that's all it is. Basically, you can click on the different things and you can decide what you want Harper to be dressed in. Okay, that's what it does. A couple of things I wanted to show you, however, is what you can do to make your coding a little bit easier. Okay, so you will get the task sheet that shows you all the code and all the coordinate, and it works for these specific objects. Okay, so I've not changed anything, I've just left them how they are. I'll show you in a wee second how you can change the costumes and stuff. Okay, but it works for them just if you use the default costumes. If you want to copy and paste code to make your task a little bit easier, you can do that really easily. So if you want to copy and paste a piece of code inside a block, you just right click and go to duplicate, and then that's it duplicated. Okay, and you can then grab it, pop it in here if you delete it, if you don't want it anymore. Okay, in turn, if you want to duplicate it into another sprite, you just hover over here and see when they wiggle. If you let go when they wiggle, you can copy and paste the code into another person, and then when you let go and you go into them, you'll see that they have the piece of code as well, and then you can just change the numbers. That makes it quite easy because a lot of the different bits of clothes, if you like, they've all got the exact same code, they've just got different numbers in them, so that makes your job a little bit quicker. Okay. If you want to change any of the costumes, so for example, if I go to the pants, the trousers, okay, and I go to costumes, I can change it to pink trousers if I want pink instead of blue. That'll still work relatively well because they're virtually the same shape, okay, but that won't work with all of them. So if you go to for example, to the hat, and you have a look at the hat costumes, you can see there's a number of different hat costumes you can pick. Okay, some of them, like this one, for example, if you run the code, it won't work quite so well just because the coordinates, but you can have a play about with the coordinates. You can move it and check the coordinates here and then just change them inside the code if you want to use a different type of costume. That's totally fine. Okay, the ninja task is that you can add in some more. So if you go into the Sprite, search the Sprite Library and into fashion, for example, you could pick any of the different other things if you want to add them, different type of glasses or a dress or whatever. So add as many different costumes and things as you like. Okay, so back to the PowerPoint. Here's your plenary. Okay, so basically we've got the stage. When the green flag is clicked, it broadcasts the message swim, which is then picked up by the starfish, the scuba diver and the crab. And your task for your plenary today is to describe what you think each of these blocks of code will make these characters do. Okay, do they all pick up the swim broadcast? And if they do, what does it make them do? Okay, pause the video, have a lot of time to think about it because it's quite complex code, a lot of loops and stuff that we talked about a few weeks ago. Okay, and write it down in your jotter. Lastly, to finish up, what I want you to do is have a little think about what we have talked about today. So do you think you have been successful in your learning? Do you know the advantages of using a broadcast over just using simple weights, especially with multiple different characters? Do you know the two different types of broadcast that Scratch has? And can you identify examples for which a broadcast is best to use in? Or if you were given a situation, could you decide which one is best to use? Now remember, in your worksheet there's a couple of questions on broadcast as well, so make sure to answer them and upload an example of your worksheet to your Show My Homework. Okay, if you could take a picture of your final Scratch screen with your different items of clothing that you've added, that would be absolutely fantastic. I don't need to see it running, but it would just be nice to see your Harper all dressed up. I should say you can also change the Harper character as well, so if you want it to be male or female or whatever, you can change in the costumes. If you go into Harper, you can change their character too. Okay, happy coding, guys, and I will pop the answers up for last week too, so please make sure to have a look over them. Speak to you later. Bye.